Hello, everyone. It's Zira here from Love of the Dark podcast, and today I'm going to pluck cat hairs off of my background for you. No, that's not why we're here today. We are here because I want to do a little video on Kitchener stitch. I know there's a ton of videos out there, but I thought, well, I could have mine too. This is a little bit different from regular Kitchener stitch, in that we're going to be working this over knits and purls. We have some beautiful little cable work here. This little hat pattern is the Nutbrown Hare pattern. I cannot think for the life of me of the designer's name, and I didn't write it down, but it's on Ravelry if you just type in Nutbrown Hare hat pattern. And this is for one of my coworkers. They're having a baby soon. It's very exciting. Anyway, we've got the hat and the ears done, and now all that's left to do is just seam up that hole. And the pattern for this particular hat gives you a lot of different options. It teaches you how to, or it tells you to either, you can either cast these off and then mattress stitch them, or you can Kitchener stitch them. There's a number of things you can do. I like to Kitchener stitch because I feel like it keeps the pattern going through the whole hat, which is nice. So let's get started. So a lot of people think that the Kitchener stitch is this really scary thing that they just can't possibly do. I hear that a lot. Well, the thing is, it's just knits and purls, just like any pattern, right? You're knitting, to make a certain look. You're purling to make a certain look. You add them together to make a certain look. It's really not hard. Some people might not memorize it as easily as others, but that's what pen and paper are for. It's cool. You just write it down, look at it as often as you need to. We're going to thread a needle, a yarn needle, and we're not going to knot the end. We're just going to leave that hanging so we can weave it in later. So, just like with regular Kitchener stitch, there is a setup process. I hope you can see this okay. I'm not using autofocus because my autofocus sucks. The setup is, and when we're working on this first couple of stitches is on knit stitches. So it's just going to be like regular Kitchener stitch. So the first thing you're going to do is for the setup, you're just going to do the setup once, and then it's going to be the same for the rest of the thing. That'll make sense in a minute here. So get our little ear out of the way. On the first needle, the needle that's closest to you, the front needle, you're going to go into that stitch with your needle. Here, let's come back here. As if to purl. So we're coming through this way, like we're purling. If we were going through this way, that would be like to knit, right? So you're going to come through back to front as if to purl. You're going to pull that through, leave a little tail, and you're just going to leave that stitch on that needle. The next stitch is you're going to go down, you're going to go to the back needle, this one back here, and you're going to go through that first stitch as if to knit. Okay? Just like that. You're going to pull that through. Snug it up a little bit. Not too tight. Don't snug it up too tight at this point. You can always go in afterwards and snug everything up. So you're going to leave that on the needle. That's your setup. So now, you're never going to bring the yarn over the needles like this when you're working. You're always going to bring them underneath like such. Okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to come back to this first needle, and now we're going to go through the first stitch here knitwise, and we're going to drop that stitch off the needle. It's a little awkward at first. Okay, we're going to drop that stitch off the needle, and then we're going to go into the second stitch purlwise, and we're going to leave that one on the needle. Then we're going to go to our back stitch. We're going to go into that first back stitch purlwise, and you'll see here sometimes the yarn wants to get caught up like this. Keep it down underneath. That'll save you a lot of trouble later. And we're gonna, after going through purlwise, we're gonna drop that one off, and then we're gonna snug it up just a little bit, and then we're gonna go into the next stitch knitwise and leave it on. So the mantra is, for knit stitches, the mantra is knit off, purl on, purl off, knit on. And you just do that all the way across. So we're going to do that again. we're going to, yes, knit off, purl on, and we're going to purl off, see, that got caught up there, there we go, and knit on. Oop, that got caught around my needle. Gotta make sure that doesn't happen, that'll mess you up. Okay, now we're coming to purl stitches. I have reached purl stitches. Those last ones that I did were knits. These are purls, and it's a little bit different. For purls, it's just the opposite. Instead of knit off, purl on, purl off, knit on, for purl stitches, we're going to purl off, knit on, knit off, purl on. So here we go. For this first purl, we're going to purl off, oops, get that off of there, and knit on, and then we're going to go to the back, and we're going to knit off, get off of there, purl on. And I have 4 purl stitches in a row, so we're just going to keep doing that. Purl off, purl off, come on now, knit on, and then knit off, purl on. I'm going to try and make this clearer. I know it's hard to see my hands right here. Let's see. Okay. So we're going to do it again. This front stitch, I wonder, let me try this just really quick. See, that just makes it worse. Does that make it worse? Well, whatever. Okay, so for purl stitches, again, we're going to purl this first stitch, right? Purl. And you can actually purl and take it off and then pull the yarn through if you want to. That might make it easier to see what I'm doing. So we've purled off. Oop, that tail, just get out of the way. And then knit and leave it on, right? And then we're going to go to the back and we're going to knit off and purl on. Okay. And for the front here, let's see, we are now moving into, are we moving into a knit stitch? No, that's still one purl. We've got one purl stitch left. Oh, that somehow though I got that in the way. Let's see here. What is that? What happened? No, there we go. That guy was just wrapped around. It's really easy for the yarn to get wrapped around and get into your business there, so be careful. So one more purl stitch. So we're going to purl off, pull that all the way through, and knit, oops, this way, knit on. And on the back, we're going to knit off. Oops, see, that's what happened last time. And purl on. You know, that's, where do you live? There you live. Now we're back at a knit stitch. So now we're going to go back to doing it the knit way. So now we're going to knit off and purl on and purl off and knit on. And we have 2 knit stitches at a time. And then we'll have 2 purls and 2 knits, I believe, or 2 and 4. Come on now. Okay. another knit stitch. So knit off, purl on, purl off, knit on. Okay. And nope, I got two more. Okay. Knit off, oh, come on now, get out of the way, tail. Purl on, purl off, knit on. I think it's easier to off before you've pulled your tail through. So we'll do it one more time. Knit, rather than going all the way through and pulling the tail through and then pulling it off, I do think it's easier to pull it off the needle and then pull the tail through. It seems to keep stuff from getting tangled. And then purl on, and then purl off, and knit on. And I'm sorry if this is tedious, but some people like tedious, so there's that. And you can see here, this is seaming up. Now, it's a little wonky right now, but it won't be. Once I get in there and kind of adjust everything and stretch things out and block it, it'll all block out. It'll be fabulous. We are back to our purls. This is a set of purls in between the knit cables, and there are 4 of them. So we're going to go back to our 4 purl stitches, and that is purl off, knit on. So purl off, get out of there, tail, knit on. And then in the back, just the opposite, knit off, purl on. Okay. And then in the front again, purl off, knit on. Oops, come on now. In the stitch. And in the back, knit off, purl on. Okay, we've got 2 more of those. Knit. Is that a stitch? Yes. Knit. Oh, I dropped a stitch by accident. It's okay, I got it. I got it. That one needs to come off. Knit off. Sorry about that. Purl on. Purl off. Knit on. Okay. Now we're back to our knit stitches. So for the knit stitches, it's just the opposite. Remember, we're going to knit off, and purl on, and purl off, and knit on. Knit off, and purl on, we're getting down to the last couple stitches. It's a little fiddly. Purl off, get out of there, tail, knit on. Oops, I dropped my yarn off of my needle. All right, and then so for the last 2 stitches, get back in there, it is just knit off and purl off. All right, so now all we got to do, we got to weave in our ends. Get rid of that needle for a minute. But yeah, now you have, and I've got holes because it's where the ear is attached. But you can see I got to sew those holes up. But other than that, that lined up really, really well. You've got your purls, you've got your knits, your purls, and once it blocks any of the wonkiness, like the little unevenness and stuff like that, that will all block out really nicely. So yeah, that's how you do that. I hope that was clear. I know my camera's not the best, but I hope it made sense. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Until then, woo! Happy knitting.